Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to week 3 of our MoJo series. We're going to be talking about Noah this week. So we're back in Genesis, just a few chapters after Adam and Eve. And let me just set up a little bit of context here. As we read Adam and Eve, the first few chapters of the Bible, there's not too much between them and Noah. There's a short chapter about how, we read in chapter 3, the sin entered the world and how that's corrupted God's creation. And so we see that kind of take over, and we see how sin can take over the heart of mankind. And so that boils up into a huge scenario with Cain and Abel. But then after that, we have a chapter of genealogy. So we kind of see the line from Adam and Eve to Noah and see just how their relatives get down to where we meet Noah in chapter 6. And so we meet Noah here, and we get to know that he's just this regular guy living in this corrupt world, and God calls him to something huge, this monumental, incredible task that just only God could ask of you, something that you would never think of on your own, to build this giant ark to save his family and one or two of each animal so that the world could be saved. And then there's going to be this huge flood that's going to wipe out this terrible, sinful creation, because God is just thinking like, man, this is rough. There's so much sin, there's so much corruption, things have gotten out of hand, and God decides he's going to restore his creation. And so he tells Noah that you are going to build this ark. And it's just a ridiculous request. I mean, Noah gets made fun of for years and years while he's building this thing. I mean, people are like, yeah, sure, God tell you to build a big boat. I'm sure that's the case. If you're afraid of the water, just build a rowboat or a fishing boat. You'll be fine. But no, Noah, he answers God's call, and he says, all right, I'll do this. As much as I'm going to get made fun of, as much as people say I'm crazy, I'm going to do this because God told me to. And so that's where we're going to pick up the story and read a little bit about Noah. What an awesome look that is into Noah's life just at this time. I mean, can you imagine putting yourself in his shoes, just being in the ark and this rains and storms, this craziness that's going on around him? No, I said the storms and the craziness that's going on around him. Yeah, exactly, and then just all of the animals that he has surrounding him. I mean, the sounds that they make, just never being able to escape them, that would drive me absolutely crazy. Can you imagine never being able to leave those noises? Just stop! Shut up! And then, of course, you have those days where the lion gets a little extra hungry and he's trying to eat the other animals. And you're like, no, stop it! Don't do that! You're gonna want to save that for later. I can't imagine what it would be like on this ark, but then the rain stops, the storm subsides, and the waters recede, and then we have this sign of a rainbow that comes after all of this. And this is so cool because it's not just a rainbow, it's not just another light through water thingy. This is a symbol from God to mankind. This is representative of a covenant. And what a covenant is it's like a promise, or I guess a loose definition would be kind of like a contract. And when you think of it, you look back, there's a couple different kinds of covenants from back in that time. And so the first kind is something like we would think of today, a two-way covenant that works both ways. Like, you do something for me and I'll do something for you. And so we write up this contract and say, all right, you sign here, I'll sign here, your initial, and all right, here you go. And then if someone breaks that the contract, then the contract's void. It doesn't count for anything. But then there's the second type of covenant, and that's the covenant that we see in the story of Noah. It's something that really the world has never seen before, and it's God saying to us that in the midst of our brokenness and in the midst of our sinfulness, that he still loves us and he still gives us this opportunity of hope in the midst of all of the darkness that surrounds us. And it's this huge glimpse into the gospel. I mean, we don't have to earn, we can't earn God's love. There's a difference between this first type where we each have to do something to earn, like we would have to do a certain amount of good things to earn God's love. And God says, no, that's not the way it is anymore. I will love you regardless of your sin. And that's just this amazing glimpse into the gospel story. And that's exactly why Jesus came. This covenant that we see in Genesis is just a little piece compared to the incredible covenant that Jesus came to make on the cross. And I just think that's so cool, because so often we revert back to this old style of contractual agreement between us and God, where we have to do enough things and we have to write up this contract and ask God to sign it, and then, dang it, I screwed up. Shoot, this contract is void, or just rip it up, tear it to pieces, and then we go back and we try to draw up this fancy new contract that'll impress God. And I guess instead of 5, I'll do 10 awesome things, and I'll get 50 Jesus points instead of 20. And then we bring it before God, and He's saying, no, like, that's not the case anymore. Like, you can't earn my love. And I think so often we get stuck in this idea that we have to do enough good things, and that's what we see here, is that this is the beginning of a new way of thinking where God just pours out His love onto us. See, what we have here is this just new amazing picture of God, and how we can't do enough things to earn His love, but He just pours out His love unconditionally for us. He's not sitting up there. He's not an angry God who's looking down on us, ready to throw lightning bolts down on us every time we screw up, but instead He's a God who loves us and wants to give us an opportunity for hope so that we can have a better picture of who He is and who He's called us to be and what He wants us to do in this life. And so as we go out and we live our lives and we go to school and we see our friends and sports and activities and we do what we do in life, I want us to remember that we can't earn God's love. I mean, that's just not how it works. We can't write up a perfect contract. We need to stop and get out of this idea that we need to write up this awesome contracts and make to-do lists of awesome things that we can check off and make ourselves super Christians. But instead, we need to realize that through all of the sin in our lives, we are still loved by God. And in a response to that, we should be so willing and joyful to love God and love those around us. Amen.